Hi everyone, welcome back to the channel, and today we are going to be doing a video that was requested to me on Instagram. I will leave that in the subscription level, the description box below. And basically we are going to be today doing a 6-mark data response question example. How do we go about them? How do we answer them? How do you step up to that level from what you've done if you studied geography GCSE before, and what is the difference between the two? Because they will be finding that they look similar, there is going to be a contrast to it also. So it's important that you find the way that you jump up that level. So I'm going to get a range of different questions. I've collated them, and please leave any comments down below if you want to show any different things, if you want a bit more help with math side of it, because there is going to be some to do with that, or how do you actually go about it, or what's the difference. If there's something that you don't understand, I will explain it, do not worry. So we're going to start off today with the presentation that we've got ready. Geography A level, a guide to 6-mark data response questions. And please, everyone, remember to leave a like, a comment if you think there's something that you want to know more about, any ideas that you like. Subscribe to the channel because I'll be posting a lot throughout this quarantine period. And if you want any of the resources that you'll see in this video, please just message my Instagram handle, Jamie the Geographer, and I will give you anything that you ask. One person asked for the PowerPoint that I posted yesterday about the essay. That was really nice, thank you, and we will keep seeing what will happen. Thank you very much, and let's have a go. So what is data response? That is what some people actually forget what it is, surprisingly, and it's just questions that require you to answer based on data you're given in the question. And only that. Only respond to the data that you're given in the question. This could be using something that's in a quote in a book, for example. Often it's more likely to be a graph, a pie chart, something like that. An example is a fluid hydrograph, which will be the question we'll be working through together. And if you're in an A-level exam, these questions are worth 6 marks. Normally at GCSE they're about 1 to 4, but this is how it's a bit of a step up, and they're basically just a high level of GCSE, where if you had in science or in geography, they normally just said, say what you see. It's very similar to that. It's just a bit of extra work to say what you see in a more scientific, more intelligent context in a way. So, and to put this into context for your A-level exam, you will get these in each sections of both papers 1 and 2 for sections A, B, and C. So that will be water and carbon, your option of coasts, deserts and glaciers, and either hazards or ecosystems for paper 1. And then you will also get them for contemporary urban environments, population, resources in your optional topic for paper 2. You'll get them in changing place, and you will get one in global governance. And in total, that equates to 36 marks. So you've got quite a set structure. I could probably do a video on that as well, about the structure of your exam and how to go about it. But that's just giving you context of how that's 36 easy marks in the bag if you can learn this structure that I'm going to show you and what to do and what it's all about. We're going to start off easy for this bit. So going back to GCSE for a bit. So these describe questions that you had often ranged from 1 to 4 marks. They're often quite basic sometimes, that you just required to say what you saw on the graph, and our school taught us to follow the P acronym. I don't know how other people got taught, but this is what we were given to find your pattern. So what's the general trend? So how much CO2 levels rising in the thing? It shows they're rising. Evidence, give a figure. So 80 parts per million of CO2 from 2020 to 1970 has been released. And then an anomaly, is there something that doesn't fit the trend in the graph or the text that you're given? Is one person in the survey being really positive while the rest of them have been quite negative? Is there a fall in CO2 levels? Is there some fluctuations? That could be your anomaly. And that's all it normally was. So we'll give an example. For this one, this came up on my GCSE exam when I did GCSEs a few years ago. And it was basically for the energy topic, so I did do resource, so I do know a bit, is describe the change in the pattern of the energy generated for the UK's energy mix between 2006 and 2016. This was a 4-mark question, and we were using the P paragraph. I don't know what I got on this question, but I think I did all right on it, but this is what I would have written probably when I did it, and we'll just follow the structure that I've given you. So this is a response that I've written just now. This is going to get 4 marks. I had somebody check it over before, and we both agreed. So this is what you get for a pattern. This general trend shows an increased use for most of the energy sources. Notice how I've highlighted that there and underlined it, most energy sources, gas and nuclear. 6 out of the 8 sources have shown an increased use. That's definitely 1 mark. We're stretching on the 2, depending on the examiner. Evidence. Most show an increase in percentage of energy generated from each source, with the greatest, again underlined it, greatest increase being onshore wind and solar, increasing by 9% by 2016. So definitely 2 marks, maybe 3 marks even, because we've already given some figures and an increase, we've manipulated it slightly. Then anomaly. However, 2 energy sources, coal and oil, have both shown a monumental decrease, maybe coal more so, but you've got the idea, with the energy percentage generated of coal having decreased by 37.5% in 2006 to only 9% by 2016. That is now definitely 4 marks. We've given the pattern evidence anomaly, that would have given us 3. And then the number of different numbers, figures, coal, referring to the number of sources, the percentages, that's definitely put us into level 4. We've shown a strong number of marks in that one. I'm just going to give you a bit of advice as well when we have that commentary. Those what I wrote are just suggestions. There were many more trends in the data that you probably saw that I didn't see when I wrote this. There were other patterns in the graph. It doesn't matter. As long as what you've said is true and you've backed it up, like I said in the 20-mark essays, you're going to get the mark because it's not wrong. You're not saying anything different. You've not made it up because you're saying what you see. That works for both A-level and GCSE. So I just wanted to give you that to show that it's not as massive a jump as people think, but it is still a jump. Now, when I say data response, they can be a bit more difficult. So the examples of the data you could be given for are going to be a graph. They could be a bar graph, a line graph, scatter graphs. They could be maps. They could be topological, choropleth, isoline maps, if you know what those are. These are often I found more in the natural hazards or urban. There's no point guessing what you'll get. Don't need to, but that's just what I found. You could be given, like I said, a text or a song or an extract of a book. Why? Because that's qualitative data. Keep in mind the example never says it's a graph. They just said it's data response. So you could be more than given a song. I did a mock paper once, and it was I was given a song to analyse for 6 marks, and I'd probably maybe do a video on that for qualitative analysing. But that would be more in the changing places unit, because that's a lot more qualitative data, people's opinion, interpretation. And other ones that I came up with were flowline maps, population pyramids, if you do population topic for section C in paper 2, or flood hydrographs, which again is going to be the example we're going to work on together later on in the video. This is just a brief example of a question you could be given at A-level. This is from the Contemporary Urban Environments question, section C, paper 2, where you analyse the changes in the world patterns of urbanisation. So upon looking at this briefly, we can see that there's a number in the growth of megacities and world cities, but often the growth rate has actually declined because we're seeing a lot more of yellow and blue rather than orange and red. And the size of the cities, remember to look at the key as well. The size has grown massively for some of them, which shows that maybe that's slowing down. So when I say link later on in the video, that's something you need to analyse. You could say the variables are showing that the growth rate has declined, but the size has done. So it could show that as the country begins to increase in size, their growth rate will flatten out. You don't say why it could be flattening out or shrinking their growth rate, but you've made that link. That's all they want. That's the bit of the step up in A-level they ask you to give. This is another example, projected rainfall in Africa. How is that changing? You can see here that the projected rainfall in Africa from 2080 to 2099, there's going to be a 5mm increase in January, about mid-April, but about July, August time, it massively decreases. But rainfall currently, it's actually showing a bit of an inverse relationship in how the change in Africa in rainfall is going to be difficult depending on which region you're in. So really, there's going to be an increase in some areas. If you look at the map, Madagascar, Congo, some parts of South Sudan are facing an increase, while some, such as Gabon and Nigeria, they're decreasing. There's a lot of data to take in there, so it's times that you often just need to sit back and get a better idea of it. But that's another example. And one final is from the carbon unit. Like I said, you could get something given very basic like this, in my opinion, a compound bar graph looking at the different sources, which level at which each country is producing, and the differences between. I think I got given this in my mock paper last year, was a gift of a question, and it was really useful to have. It just shows you the different levels and what data you could be using to infer. So if I was to look at the general trend now, It shows higher income countries produce more greenhouse gas emissions than lower income countries. The majority of theirs comes from energy production, whereas LIC's, the majority of theirs comes from agriculture. It shows as the years go on, so 2010 for most of them, there is a higher level of greenhouse gas emissions. That's just what I've seen looking up. If I stood there and did a bit of calculating, that would be really good. You get the access to top band, and we'll show you how to do that in a second. So here we are, basics, how to approach the question. This is the bit I say to a lot of people when I'm showing them how to do a 6-mark question, and they don't often understand, well, how I could mean it like this, but this is true because I've met an examiner once and they told me this. You don't need to have done any geography to get 6 out of 6 on the data response questions, because it's AO3, it's application, your data, and the knowledge you've got about how to apply a graph rather than the knowledge of geography, because you won't get any marks for saying, yes, this is because of that reason. So before you answer the question, I recommend you do these 3 main things. Underline what they're asking for in the question. The question will always say analyse. If you look back at the 3 questions we've just had, it says analyse the data shown, analyse projected rainfall, analyse changes. They're always asking you to analyse the data, but all 3 of those questions ask you for something different. So what do they want? Do they want the changes in something? Do they want the change in rainfall? Do they want similarities? Do they want similarities maybe comparing income in London and Birmingham? Do they want the distribution? So the change in distribution maybe of the megacities in the world. How is that happening? That's what they ask for. You need to use that question and fit that to your answer. So if they're looking for the distribution, make sure you look in the distribution. Don't talk about the change, look for the distribution. And then draw on, it's paper, you can draw on it. They don't care. Draw, write, talk, calculate something. Get some ideas down first, waste 1 or 2 minutes, get some ideas down, and then write it onto your paper in a nice formal manner. Because that way you've got some ideas and you don't have to panic. And then my 3rd tip is write out PELM. It's an extension from P, as you can see, just added L and M. And what does PELM mean? Well, I'm going to show you, and this is how you get 6 out of 6 using the PELM structure. So PELM stands for pattern, evidence, anomaly, link, manipulate. And link and manipulate is where we jump up in the A level, because when you link something, you need to get the idea of the 2 things that you need to infer from the data, and then you manipulate it using some mathematical techniques. And when I say mathematical techniques, I mean mean, modian, and range, basically. Like I said, quick summary. Pause here if you want to read over them. I'm just going to go over them quick. Pattern, general trend in the data. Does it go up? Does it go down? Is there more people? Is there less people in a city? Evidence. Give some data, give a key figure. So a percentage, a distance, a level of rainfall, and remember your units. That is key. Remember the units, millimeters, grams, kilograms, percentage. That is helpful. You don't have to do anything with that number. Just make sure you've written it down. Anomaly, like in GCSE, where's the anomaly? If there's something that doesn't fit the trend, has Africa suddenly got more mega cities than America? Is that unusual? We don't know, but that's on the data. That doesn't fit the trend. Why does America have not have anything when the rest of the continents do? Have a look at it that way. Link it back to the question or the subtopic. What does the results show? So if I've got a graph that says, let's have a think. Yeah, they're perfect. If I've got a graph that has years on here and carbon dioxide levels, it's on the next one that I've got. As the years show that carbon dioxide levels are increasing, you can infer that there's going to be more emissions. It suggests there's going to be more emissions per year, which has led to it increasing. You don't know why. You don't have to say why. You don't have to say there's more people emitting greenhouse gases. You can just say the data shows there's going to be a higher level of CO2 as the years increase. Then you manipulate the data. This is the most important step. Like I said, mean, mode, median, range. This shows your strength for mathematical data, using percentage change, using the difference between data sets, showing the gradual change over a spatial or temporal scale. That is what's going to access the level 4 top band. So as I've mentioned before, a lot of people make this mistake, and I just want to make it clear in the video before we start doing a question together. What is the biggest mistake? And it's saying this is because of or due to. When you're doing a graph, especially at A level, never say this is due to. Why? Because they don't want to know. The question is AO3. Then no explanation is needed. In the mark scheme, no explanation is asked for. They just want to say, what is the data showing? You won't lose marks, but you're not going to gain them. You're only wasting lines on the exam paper. So if we have an example here, I've just taken the Keeling curve for CO2 concentration, and we're looking at it from this graph. Say the following, for example, we can see that it's going up. It shows to fluctuate every year, and there's arguably a bit of exponential growth, maybe linear, depending on who you are. I think it's a bit exponential because it's going up very steeply, as I imagine, but don't say why. You know why it's going up. Anybody who's not done geography before knows why CO2 emissions are going up. But it's AO3. They do not ask for it. So if you think, oh, I know why, wait until the next question. You'll have plenty of time in the 20 markers, your 6 markers, your 9 markers to give all that reasoning. 6 markers, nothing. Just say what you see on that graph. So with that, we're going to give it a go. Figure 1 shows rainfall data of a measured hydrograph and a simulated hydrograph for, I can't pronounce that, Taguibo watershed in Mindanao Island in the southern Philippines. This data was collected from the 13th to the 17th of April 2007. Now, the simulated hydrograph is computer generated. It's a prediction of the discharge. So let's have a look at the data. Pause the video now, maybe have a look at a few of the things, and then we're going to go through it together using my PELM paragraph. Now, I sourced this from paper 1, section A in the water and carbon cycle. And this is going to be something that everyone's done, so you should all have a good idea of it, but you keep in mind you don't need to have done geography A level to get 6 marks. Keep that in mind. So let's give this a go then, if we can do it. What can we see using PELM? So the pattern graph shows a steep rising limb at 6 o'clock on the 14th of April 2017. We can see that where it's rose dramatically of approx 6.8 QMX. That's 650% increase. That's monumental. And also you could argue that we've already moved our marks up the way because I've already given evidence, I've already given some numbers, and I've manipulated the data by doing a percentage increase. But my evidence for this one is a graph shows a falling limb to where it reaches a relative base flow at approx 1400 hours on the 15th of the April of 2007, declining to approx 1.7 QMX. You can see that on the actual hydrograph where there's the fluctuator one, the red line. Best tip I ever had from an examiner was to look at the key. If you're thinking during your exam, you're panicking, you think, I've got no clue what's going on, look at the key. That's all they do. The keys are invaluable in geography. They give you colour for a reason. We're a colouring in subject for a reason because it helps you to see. Then, anomaly. Now, this one was difficult with the hydrograph ones, but this is what an anomaly was asking for. The graph suggested to be an accuracy between the simulated and measured hydrograph, with the predicted discharge from his simulated one is often lower than the actual one. So that suggests a limitation within the graph. So I've made a link there between the idea of the two variables and how there's a limitation. Then, next up, a link. The data shows shortly after a high period of rainfall, there is increased discharge shown by a short lag time, approx 12 to 14 hours. So again, given some evidence, given a pattern, and I've made a link. So I've made a link between level of rainfall and a sharp response. So you can see here, there's a high rainfall period, about 600 hours on the 14th, and that led to a flashy response. So I've made my link there by saying high rainfall equals high discharge. That's my link. Put the 2 bits of data together, all done. Then manipulate. What do you do to manipulate data? The data shows the highest rainfall to be at approx 400 hours on the 14th of April 2007 at 2 millimeters per minute, declining to something millimeters by 1200. I forgot what it says there. 0 millimeters I meant to put, so 0 millimeters, with the average rainfall being approx 0.8 millimeters throughout the period. So forget my little typo there, but the average, I've manipulated it using my MMMR data trick. So I've put the average of 0.8 millimeters. How did I work that out, you ask? Don't ask, I used a calculator. Basically, that is just all it is asking for. This, what I would have written here, if I'd connected it, maybe done a bit more, would have gotten me 5-6 marks. This will get you 5 and 6 marks every time. Just want to bring it back to the idea of the commentary. What I made there, those are just suggestions. It's not prescribed and it's not exhaustive. You could have found other parts when you pause the screen to have a look at the data that I didn't see. That's fine. Write them down. As long as you can find the pattern, you can go for some evidence, give an anomaly, link it to the variables, and then manipulate your data using the mean, median, mode, and the range, and then a percentage change if you can. That will get you the marks because that is all they're asking for. It doesn't matter what you pick as long as it's true. And again, I want to refer, this works for both GCSE and A-level. PELM is developed apart from A-level. You might want to use it at GCSE if you really want to get the top marks, or if you've given maybe a very difficult question that's maybe worth 5 marks. That's possible. They can do it, but normally I've seen them be worth 1 to 4 in the GCSE questions. And that is all there is to it. So I'm just going to give you one final quick summary. So underline what the question is asking. Pattern, the evidence, the variation, the difference. Never give reasoning for your data patterns. Don't say why, just say what is happening. Use the acronym PELM to structure your paragraph. And remember, always manipulate your data. That's in the PELM paragraph structure, but manipulate, manipulate, manipulate. Write on there some facts, some figures, some numbers, because then you're going to start making your way up to the bands. And that is everything. Thank you so much for watching, everyone. Please like, subscribe, comment, and follow my Instagram handle. Once again, Jamie_the_geographer, because these are all the things I'm going to post on my YouTube and Instagram over time. And hopefully you enjoy it. Please put comments if you think there's something that you want to see or me give you a revision video on. I can do pretty much all of them. I love doing them, and none of this will cost you a thing if you want some revision videos for those who are taking A-levels and GCSEs in 2021, those who might needing to be taking them in September, October. We just don't know with the current situation. I hope you're all well, and thank you very much for watching. I will now be ending it like that. See you next time.